Julie Lithcott-Haynes noticed a disturbing trend. She spent a decade as the dean of freshmen at Stanford University and found incoming students were brilliant, virtually flawless on paper, and every year more of them seemed completely incapable of actually taking care of themselves.
Well, joining us on the Kogo News Live Line this morning is licensed professional counselor Rusty Lozano. Rusty, the first question is, she blames helicopter parents, which we've all heard of, swooping in to cushion every blow. Is she correct in assuming this is the problem?
I think that she's very correct in a lot of sense that parents are facilitating a lot of episodic kind of things throughout a child's life that disables them from having some sort of an instinct to deal with failures and things outcomes not really turning out the way that they'd like.
Now, why is this one generation of parents, is this Generation X maybe, that's so overprotective?
You know, what's funny, I just had this conversation with a friend the other day, and I'm wondering if if a big part of it is not us. You know, we didn't grow up with, and when I say us, I'm referring to those who were kids in the 80s and 90s, teenagers. But we didn't grow up with a lot of the difficulties that this generation seems to be facing these days. Interpersonal skills have been under attack for a long time because, the electronics kind of now take over your time, whereas as compared to playing outside and staying out till the sun goes down and interacting with friends and finding your friends, those were things that we had to do ourselves. And now, we're parents and we see the hazards and the competition that we're really trying to get in there and make things a lot easier for our own kids. I'm just curious. I don't know. It's a really interesting conversation.
Well, I have friends who have kids 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, and more I hear them say, oh, I got to get home and do my kids' homework, or I got to do their science project. What do you say to these parents?
Yeah, I'd say that you're debilitating your kids, and essentially by making things a lot easier for them. And they need to experience failures. They need to experience difficulty and overcoming them. If they don't have these win and lose type of outcomes, then there's no way that the kids are really going to learn. I think that we're doing them a huge disservice. Now, on paper and performance-wise, it looks fantastic and phenomenal. But what is this child learning, essentially, when you get in there and they do their homework and getting things done by a deadline? I think that it can be a tremendous disservice to our children.
Well, Rusty, another question I have is, and I don't know if I've ever heard this brought up, is this more of a socioeconomic problem? Are more affluent families more apt to be helicopter parents?
It's interesting. I think that when you look back at what the concept of a spoiled brat is and somebody who's spoiled, we tend to kind of point our fingers towards more of a higher socioeconomic family and status quo. But it's happening everywhere. You have single income households, single moms that have one child, and they invest a lot of their time into that child. And vice versa. You have families that work and they're always gone, but then have sitters or other family members watching and rearing the children, and then they come in and try to play catch up, mom or dad, and they go in and that's kind of some of the ways that they try to get in there and get some last minute parenting in before the day's over.
Licensed professional counselor Rusty Lozano here on the Kogo News Live Line on helicopter parenting and what one university dean says is ruining kids. Thanks so much for joining us.